Hello everyone, welcome back to Manga Goblin. I'm Trix of course, and today we're going to look at the House of Faith, the latest Necromunda book from Forge World/DW, which details the Cawdor gang and Redemptionists, and there's a lot to be said. Okay, let's just break this down into something very easy, because I could talk for an hour about this book and the missed opportunities this book has. But let's just look at it, and I know I haven't reviewed the other books yet. I will come back to them. The other books came out before I started the channel, so as this one has just come out, I thought it would be a good opportunity to start with this one. Alright, what's good about the book? I do like that the books themselves, this is not just this one on its own, this is all of them basically, expand the lore of Necromunda. However, the Cawdor, originally, in the original Necromunda from 96, 95, Cawdor were always the public face of the Redemption. The Redemption are a bunch of fanatical individuals who worship the Emperor almost to an insane level. The Cawdor, on the other hand, were the public face. They were the face that people tolerated of the Redemption type of belief. They were never as crazy as the Redemptionists. They were never originally linked to them officially. They were always like, sometimes they would recruit, the Redemption would recruit members of Cawdor gangs, but they could recruit members of any gangs, really. That's why they were masked, you see. Originally, they were hidden. They were people that you didn't know. They covered their face because you could only show your face to other members of the Redemption. Okay, Cawdor did have masks and hoods and stuff like that too, but again, they were always the public face. They were always the face that Helmore tolerated in the open. That's just a little bit of backstory, right? What they've done is they've basically turned them into mini Redemptionists. They have two layers of gang. What you must do is you must take less members of the Redemption than you do Cawdor. This limits you on the house-specific hangers-on, which states that your gang must be an outlaw. So either you make a normal Cawdor gang and turn them into outlaws straight away, or you use the full effect of the Redemptionists in the book and gain the two followers. There are the Flagellant and the Priest are such decent buffs to the gang that I don't see anyone not taking them, especially if you're going to do a Redemptionist gang, or using both fractions. There are bonuses to using both. For example, the long rifle, for example, the halberds with the various, the polearm halberds with the blunderbusses, or the autoguns. They're really cool weapons. They're really decent weapons. When you look at the two leaders, for example, if you look at the Cawdor Wordkeeper and you look at the Redemptor Priest, it is far better to use the Redemptor Priest because you get fanatical, class B follow, and skills. They can use faith dice. Cawdor and Redemptionists can use faith dice. It's basically the Sisters of Battle Adeptus Sororitas mechanic from Warhammer 40,000 in a gang in Necromunda. It's amazingly good. And I don't see anyone not wanting to use them. Okay, Wordkeepers or Cawdor leaders do have Pyres. Basically, this enables them to reroll a double natural one on their call check when making a rally test. They immediately roll that check. The Fanatical is similar, which basically it's basically the same rules. But if you're basically, you want to take the Redemptionist Priest because you get better stuff. You get the fire pipe. You can have chain axes. You can have Book of the Redemption. You can have Pyromantic Mantle. You can have awesome stuff. You can even take the Cherub Servitors, Gun Skulls, Medi Skulls, Sensor Skulls. Whereas the Cawdor Wordkeeper can take the Sheen Birds, which are also a decent thing. So it's like they've tried to mash two gangs together and neither of which is satisfying. The fact that we don't get a Cawdor better champion, or we don't get prospects for the Cawdor, seems a really missed opportunity. Now, they did say that we weren't going to get prospects for the Cawdor. What I believed is what would happen is we would get like cheaper dupes or something, and we would get like maybe some sort of zealot type character, berserker type character. But no, they haven't done that. They've basically just nerfed or changed two gangs really weirdly, mashed them together, and expecting people to go, yeah, that's it, that's the Redemptionist. It's not the Redemptionist, it's a watered down Redemptionist, and it's a beefed up, not beefed up exactly, but like they've just basically ruined the spirit of Cawdor. I know this is a bit of a rant video, but considering what they've done to it, now saying all those negative things, this is a better book than House of Iron. This is a better book than House of Blades, the Yesha book. It's not as good as the House of Artifice book though, and it's not as good as the House of Chains book. So Artifice is obviously Vansar, Chains is obviously Goliath. The Goliath one was probably the best so far, because when they had the slave arguing gang, they put it into two sections, but this in the House of Faith, now it's just all in one section. It's really messily done, and yeah, as I said, this video could be an hour long, so I'm just gonna basically sum up a lot of the things. As I mentioned on Twitter, Clovis is in the book. He is so nerfed compared to his original origins. He took on a Lovecraftian horror by himself and won twice. Malkev is basically a what he looks like at the end of the comic. So basically he's in this sort of weird, like, he's basically a writing servitor, which basically means he can't attack or he can't defend. He's got no weapons. He's got no armor. He's basically, it basically enables the Redeemer to do know your fate. The Redeemer fixes his gaze upon enemies and reads them his book on tortures, basically. D3 enemy fighters within 9 inches must take a nerf test, which is decent. But he's only got a Mastercraft Eviscerator, which has a flamer on it. Okay, he did have those. He doesn't have the other weapons that he had, because he had like a flail, a flaming flail, so he doesn't have that. He doesn't have his grenades that he had. He is a shadow of his former incarnation. Alright, now, quickly we're going to just talk about the Hive Preacher. Can only be hired by outlaw gangs. 70 credits. Performs a sermon and adds faith dice to your gang, which basically means for a Redemptionist gang, he's an auto-include. The Flagellator. Purification if you're playing. You can basically bring one of your fighters out of recovery. It makes a toughness check if it's passed, and if he passes, he's returned to you. Again, only outlaws, and he's armed with a flail and has the fearsome skill. Pretty decent character. Again, probably an auto include for Redemptionists. The other hang-ons are available. Then it comes to brutes. Obviously, you can have the Cawdor Stick Tumbler, only available to Cawdor gangs, which means if you have more Redemptionists or have a pure Redemptionist gang, no Cawdor brute for you. There is no brute for the Redemptionist, of course. They have this Slopper, and they have the other ones. They have the Dome Runner, and they have a Cherub. Basically, they have a Cherub that you can get. Now, the Cherub, which can only be used by your friendly neighbourhood Redemptive Priest, it can't purchase any weapons or war gear. It carries no weapons and will always make unarmed attacks. It is basically a bodyguard. You can reroll 1d6 if you've got one on the battlefield and you're doing generating faith dice. Again, auto include for Redemptionist gangs. It's basically a bodyguard, which means that you can transfer hits. So taking it for the Redemptive Priest is is probably mandatory if you want him to survive, because people are going to target him. Okay, so yeah, that's the exotic beasts in the hangers on. The Sheen birds are for only Cawdor, thankfully, and they're pretty decent. They were pretty decent. They're like basically homing themselves. The bomb rats are still there. Now your house agents are of course the headsman, Ratatataskin. You get the Corpse Guild and House Core Iron. Now Core Iron is a sort of really weird religious house. So it has Fratis Militia, or Fratis Bodyguards as it calls them. Fratis Militia were again part of the old Sisters of Battle Adeptus Sororitas thing, so basically they're just including a lot from the old Sisters of Battle Adeptus Sororitas. The subplots are weird. They're basically faith-based ones. The piety skills that they can get. One of them is a rat-based skill. Scavenger's Eye, Blazing Faith, Unshakable Conviction, Devotional Frenzy, and Restless Faith. They're all okay. The Lord of Rats one is pretty decent, especially if you want to use it on a champion. But it's particularly useless for Redemptionist gangs, because you can't take rats as a Redemptionist gang. The Articles of Faith and the Paths of Faith are cool looking. Again, lots of flavor text is cool, but some of them is going to be quite difficult if you're trying to remain law abiding. So it's basically shoehorning you into being an outlaw gang to use any of the decent stuff in this book, which is a bit silly considering the Cawdor are the largest gang on Necromunda. Okay, it just boggles the mind. This is just a wasted opportunity. They could have leaned heavily more into their recycling trash, like scavenger thing, far more than a religious angle. They haven't. They've gone full Redemptionist, mini Redemptionist arc. Okay, so that's the review. As I said on Twitter, it's a 6 out of 10, and I'm giving it 2 extra ones for the Redemptionist because the Redemptionist, I like them. If the following book, which is the House of Shadows, follows suit, it's probably going to be a little overpowered considering we've seen the psychic individuals for the Delac already. Now I want to add in conclusion, the outlaw gangs or outlander gangs were my favourites in Necromunda. The Scabbies were the underdogs, and it was a really cool gang because it resonated a lot. You know, the underdogs could fight back against these other gangs who had much more stuff. Now, I don't know if this is true, but it has been rumoured, so please take this with some salt. If Scabbies are in the Delac book and they just turn them into spook or whatever it's called now, psychic drug, whatever it's called now. It used to be called spook. I think it's called spectre or something like that. If they make them basically growers of this spook drug and they just give it to the Delac, I hope they don't do what they did here and turn them into a mini gang and make them practically stupid, nothing like their previous incarnation, and gimping a gang to make you use them decently. Well, you know, for example, you have to take more psychic people than thing. I think that they won't do that for the Delac book. I think that Scabbies are probably on really back burner from what I'm hearing. It's going to be brat gangs and it's going to be waste nomads before the before the Scabby gang, sorry, and before the Ratskins. The Ratskins have got some background material. They should come back. I hope they don't come back like their Fanatic Edition version, because they made them. Now, the idea behind them was fine in their Fanatic Edition. The design of them was awful. They need to keep the rat motif without some of the problematic implications of that. that they had in the previous incarnations. Now, again, they basically pushed them into the background. We don't know what's happening. People are being very quiet on it, considering they've just got token nods. Which is, one is the hanger-on for Cal Jericho, Scabs, and the Ratskin map as well. Yeah, so that's it. So Dome Runners have replaced Ratskin Scouts. There's no other mention of them anywhere, really, except in a little bit of fluff. So that's my thoughts on House of Faith and the forthcoming. I'm going to go back and do the other books if this video gets any traction. I hope it does, because Necromunda was one of my favourite games. So thank you everyone for watching. This is probably longer than I hoped it would be, but it needed to be said about that book. This book is just a complete waste of opportunity. 6 out of 10. Thank you everyone for watching again. Take care of yourselves and bye bye.